God of War review. So let me start off by saying I am a massive fan of the God of War series, having spent an ungodly amount of hours in all the games from the PS2 to the PS3 and those on the PSP. And in all those times, I've grown emotionally attached to Kratos, the anti-hero with anger issues, the ghost of Sparta, slayer of enemy and family alike. Kratos personifies the term Greek tragedy, with the gods tricking him to kill his wife and daughter, his own father Zeus trying to kill him repeatedly, meeting his daughter in the fields of Elysium, forsaking eternity with her to save the world, and even the tragic story that is his brother. Now, this game starts off with Kratos and his son Atreus preparing for the funeral burning of Kratos' recently deceased wife, Faye. And immediately you see Kratos' new character, with him showing signs of grief as he cuts down the tree his wife had marked. This first moment of the game, you already drawn into the new, older Kratos. Once that's done, Kratos takes his son out to gauge his skills. And as the game progressed, you start to understand Kratos wasn't always around, and the raising of Atreus fell mostly to Faye. So the boy has some resentment and issues with his father. During the fight with the troll, Kratos determines his son is not ready for the journey they must take. This journey is one set by Faye before she died, asking for her ashes to be spread on the tallest peak in all the realms. Once they return, they are bothered by an unknown stranger. Kratos hides his son and meets the stranger, who he tells to leave. This stranger, covered in tattoos and with a bad haircut, would fit any fantasy description of a drunken warrior looking for a bar fight, at least to me. This stranger keeps trying to instigate a fight with Kratos, and here we see how far Kratos has come, where back in the day he would just kill anyone in his way. Here he stands taking insults while constantly trying to get the stranger to walk away. But once the stranger starts to hit Kratos, he's had enough and hits back. This leads to a fight that's better than most final bosses in many games that I've played. It's an exciting fight full of tons of destruction and brutality. The stranger proves he's just as strong as Kratos, and nothing he does can keep the stranger down until Kratos breaks his neck and throws him down a trench. And after this, Kratos decides they must make the journey whether his son is ready or not. And here's where the game properly starts. This journey is to fulfill his wife's dying wish. And no word describes this game so much as journey, for it's a journey to take his wife ashes to where she wishes, to bond with his son and manage the issues that lie between them, to discover the new world that lays before player and characters, and to find and discover all the wonders and mysteries hidden around the land. Now let's stop for a moment and discuss gameplay. No longer does Kratos use the Blades of Chaos or Blade of Olympus, but instead he wields the magical axe known as the Leviathan, a gift from his departed wife. This axe focuses on precise attacks, dealing ice damage, and can be thrown and recalled whenever the player wills. Now this axe has to be recalled manually, which causes some issues when I first started, but I found out the axe will damage enemy if it hits them on the way back, allowing you to set up traps. And it's not hard to keep enemies at a distance, since you can throw this axe and recall it as fast as you can hit the buttons, allowing you to barrage enemies from a distance. But if you don't have the axe, not a problem, as you can also battle barehanded. Something required against certain enemies that are immune to Leviathan. You also have a shield for deflecting attacks, and Atreus will aid in battle with melee attacks, summons, and his bow, which you can have him hit specific enemies as you target them. This tag team with Kratos and his son is a great new feature and very rewarding, as the son's skills get better, pulling off new attacks and being more useful as the game progresses. And let's not forget that Spartan's Rage returns, just as useful as it's always been. Now, as a side note, I want to mention the new control scheme takes some getting used to, especially for someone like me who spent so many hours playing the older God of War games that the original control scheme is simply muscle memory to me, and it took me a while to get everything down. I also want to mention that the puzzles are still true to the old God of War games, while also incorporating new areas and mythology. And also, let's not forget a good amount of side missions and many things to collect, adding plenty of extra time to gameplay. I also can't forget to mention that you can upgrade your weapons, or that as you upgrade your weapons, the look changes, getting more impressive. This is something I really like, seeing, say, your axe get more designs and gold additions to it. Let's discuss for a moment the new map designs. Well, clearly still true to the God of War formula, the overarching open world mixed with needed back travel and backtracking in certain areas and certain places visited again and again certainly adds to the feel of the game. This game has clearly adjusted to the way games are expected to be these days, yet it still holds true to that God of War formula. This game also takes much from the RPG style with new armors to find, buy, upgrades for your armor and weapons, as well as resources to collect to do such things. Not only are the new additions applied to Kratos, but they are also applied to Atreus as well, allowing you not only for the father to get better, but also the son. Now the journey taken by the duo is amazing, covering many different areas, covering many different realms. It really is awesome to see all the time that they put in to this journey, and it is very rewarding. Okay, along the way you meet new characters that will aid Kratos and his son. The Dwarven brothers, Brock and Sindri, will supply you with your armor, supplies, and upgrades. Also, these dwarves, especially Brock, are a great comedic relief to the seriousness of this game. The Witch in the Woods, who is helpful to Kratos despite his attitude towards her. The head of Mimir, who is full of wisdom and insight for the duo. Also, throughout the journey, the duo and the player get to see many amazing sights, like the giant world serpent Jormungandr, who I'm actually showing off now. The corpse of the dead giant Thalmor, massive in showing how powerful the Nordic gods are, since the giant was slain by Thor many years ago. Now for my first issue. There are simply too many human-shaped enemies. Most enemies are simply a variation or improvement of the base human enemy. Which leads to my second issue, that most of the glorious special kills Kratos is known for become stale after a while. Another big letdown. However, the kill moves in here are still amazing and satisfying and brutal. And sadly, most bosses that aren't gods are just variations of the troll you fought in the beginning of the game. This is, of course, another letdown. It leaves me missing the days of fighting things like the Chimera, so combat can start to feel repetitive, and that really is a shame. However, the fight with the gods and the dragon are absolutely amazing, especially those with the mysterious stranger that keeps chasing Kratos. So let's speak about Atreus, and Kratos trying to be his father. Atreus has some issues that I mentioned earlier, as well as they keep mentioning he has a sickness. And throughout the game, Kratos talks to him and gives him advice on how to survive, which, coming from Kratos, comes off as harsh and distant. However, those little moments when the kid isn't looking, that Kratos shines through as the loving father. Those times where something's wrong with his son, and you see Kratos reach up to place his hand on his son, only to hesitate and decide not to. He wants to be, a father, and cares deeply for his son, but he also doesn't know how to be anything but the brutal warrior he's always been. So you can see Kratos struggling to fulfill that parent role, especially with his wife no longer around, who, as we mentioned earlier, was the one who took the most care of Atreus. But as the journey goes on, they do have bonding moments, and the kid still improves to the point that I know his father is proud. So I need to stop for a moment and mention the fact that I've heard people mention this reminds people of The Last of Us. And you know what? It does. But it's not a bad thing. The growing relationship between father and son, the struggle of them getting used to each other and supporting each other is real, and it brings many emotions out to players like me. It's a great driving force of this game. So I'm going to get into spoiler territory here, so you've been warned. So over the course of the journey, they discover that the mysterious stranger who is still alive is actually the god Baldur, god who nothing can harm. He is followed by his nephews, the sons of Thor, Magni and Modi. You end up fighting both the nephews and killed Magni, with Modi running away like a coward. Later on, Modi returns to finish you both off, yet he runs away again. However, during this encounter, Atreus falls ill, and Kratos is forced to rush him back to the Witch in the Woods, who earlier you had actually found out she's the goddess known as Freya. And here you actually find out that Atreus is sick because it's his god nature and his human nature fighting each other, because Kratos has never told the kid that he's a god, which it seems kind of dumb to me, but okay, we'll go with it. She tells you that you need to go to Helheim, the realm of the dead, to fetch an ingredient to save Atreus. But you can't rely on your axe and you need a different weapon. So Kratos leaves behind the goddess and travels back home, which I love this, because on the way back everything gets darker, everything's kind of red, as well as red tinted, and this makes me believe you're seeing things through Kratos' mind, and it adds more proof to that when you have Athena showing up and talking to him. So when you get to the house, you actually find out that Kratos had stashed the Blades of Chaos under the home, And this was amazing to have access to his iconic weapons in this new game. And from this point, I used them as much as I could after spending so long with the axe. After getting back, Kratos is forced to tell his son the secret that he's been hiding, that he's actually a god. From this point, the kid starts to piss me off. After a while, his attitude changes and he gets so caught up in being part god that he becomes cocky and starts talking down to everyone, whether it be friend, foe, or father alike. He even kills Modi against Kratos' wishes once he returns, Modi having been beaten by his father Thor for constantly running from them. It's understandable telling a child he's a god, but to me, all the progress his character had made has started to decline. That is until another fight with Baldur that sends all three of them to Helheim. Kratos finally sets his son straight, and from here on the kid's personality starts getting better again. Here they also learn that Freya is the mother of Baldur, setting doubt in them about Freya herself. After making it back to Midgard and finding out how to finally reach Jotunheim, where the tallest peak in the realms is, they are forced to fight against Baldur once more, but this time Freya is interfering constantly as she's trying to stop them, because she is, of course, protecting her son. However, during this fight, Baldur punches Atreus and hits the arrowhead of the mistletoe arrow that Kratos had used to fix his son's quiver strap earlier in the game. This causes Baldur to finally be able to receive damage and sets him up to be able to be killed. Now this fight is beyond amazing, especially towards the end with Atreus and Kratos working together in the most spectacular way that literally had me yelling in excitement. This is easily one of, if not the best final boss battle that I've ever had. After being severely beaten, Kratos is talked into letting Baldur live by Freya and Atreus, but when Baldur tries to kill his mother, Kratos steps in and breaks his neck, finally ending the life of the god Baldur. Freya turns on them, promising to kill Kratos. Freya leaves, taking her son's corpse with her, and finally they travel to Jotunheim. Here, many things are discovered as they, once they reach the peak, like the fact that Kratos isn't the only parent that had kept secrets. It turns out that Faye wanted her ashes to rest here because she is actually a giant, one of the races of the 9 realms of Nordic mythology. And here, father and son have a very great bonding moment while they're spreading her ashes. But as they're leaving, Kratos drops a bombshell. Faye actually wanted Atreus' name to be Loki. This is not the Marvel Loki. This is the Nordic mythology Loki. Different and much more to him. And this is a huge thing if you know your Nordic mythology, and it makes many things about Atreus in this game make sense. So here's my final review. This game is easily a 10 out of 10. The only other games I could get, I've given this rating to is games like Skyrim and Witcher 3. Now, as I mentioned before, there are issues with this game, but its story is great. Its use of Nordic mythology is just as good as it used to be, or just as good as the old games' use of the Greek mythology, and its character development of Kratos and Atreus are the best things about this game, especially the one for Kratos, for people like me who have spent so much time playing with him earlier in the game, in the early games. So, and it's great to see how after everything Kratos has been through and that he's done, he is constantly trying to explain to his son to be better than he ever was, and that they don't have to be like the gods of old, instead they can be better than the gods that came before them. This game deserves all the praise it's gotten. Now I will mention, there is a boss fight that was such a pain and beyond stressful for me. However, it is an optional boss fight, and most of the issues, I'll admit, stem from my lack of gaming skills. And as much as I hate that fight, and the fact that there are more of these fights that I refuse to do, at least for now, there is no way it drags down this game's experience for me. This was a journey of epic skill for Kratos and Atreus, and for me, the player as well. I have nothing but love for this game, and I'm highly excited for the sequels it sets up. And with that, I highly hope that as many people as possible can have the chance to enjoy this game, and I hope it's as great for them as it was for me. Metal Hedgie out.